All right, it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. I am Veronica Dan Ikboy. Joining me this morning is Olamide Adeyemi. Olamide.
Good morning, Veronica.
Good morning.
I'm loving your blue.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a beautiful day. I didn't see as much of the fuel queues this morning, so I believe is easing out one way or the other. People have come to seemingly accept developments around the hike in price and all of it. But today we have an array of issues we will be looking at, talking about state policing. Recall that the president touched on that when he was talking about improvement in the welfare of the police just days ago, where the vice president spoke on his behalf. And then we are going to look at what's happening in Labour Party. You know, they're throwing open the contest for the party ticket. And Nigerians have been speaking about that. And then we're also going to look at the fight against drug abuse in Nigeria, what the NDLEA has been doing and the successes they have recorded over time. But first, let's begin with the story where the federal government of Nigeria and the Republic of China have signed a memorandum of understanding, that's an MoU, on the proposed $1 billion iron ore to steel project planned in Kogi State. Now, according to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Oladele Alake, the steel project is a breakthrough in the federal government's campaign to make local value addition to the model of development in the solid minerals sector. Now, this deal is also a major achievement in the sustained effort by the government to revive the OreToSteel company since it was set up in 1982 alongside Delta Steel Company, Alaja, and 13 rolling mills, amongst others, some of which have become moribund. The project is expected to meet the industrialization needs of the Nigerian economy. Well, I am particularly interested in OreToSteel company because I grew up there, and so I can talk about it to an extent. I recall growing up how the steel company were able to see some level of production when Russia was involved at the time, because the agreement was between Russia and Nigeria to develop the steel company. And some level of production was done, but at some point, there was an issue with the agreement and Russia had to leave. And after they left, everything, it became moribund, so to speak. Alaja Steel, Itakbe, and all of those, you know, there was so much happening with the steel companies. And we see that if that had been working, I believe that Nigeria's economy would have expanded more than it is right now. If we have seen governments come and go, talk about, you know, bringing this back, reviving all of these steel companies, but not much has been seen. So I'm happy that we are signing an agreement with China. How that brings back a revival of those companies, it will go a long way in helping our economy. But we must also recall that or understand that Nigeria and China had begun their bilateral ties in 1971. So it's been a long time coming. China has been investing in Nigeria, but structurally, and some would say politically. But then we have seen so much interest of China in Africa in recent times, especially Nigeria, but it's a good one, I must say.
So it's a good one, like you said, and there are prospects, there are positive prospects for this agreement. I am believing that while those mining companies stopped, they had to resort to, you know, the port to steel, P2Port rather, where they have to, you know, extract these materials and export it directly and not having, you know, to produce within the country. It's very important to, you know that the company that Nigeria signed with actually produces about 80% of China's steel. And so this is a good prospect for Nigeria, especially when we look at long-standing ties. Well, of course, we will be considering the debt Nigeria owes China and many other countries. But when infrastructure, you know, is in place, it brings us a good repayment plan. It provides us with at least a good stand with some of these nations. There's nothing really wrong with a partnership, but we also have to ask ourselves questions like, are we actually ready? Are we sure that we will follow this through? And then issues
there wouldn't be a breakdown of agreement like we saw with Russia.
Like you said, well, how this must have affected many families, of course, how this must have affected the livelihoods of so many Nigerians at that time. And so we're hoping that this agreement comes through and it is actually implemented for the benefit of Nigerians. We're looking at job prospects.
I love that you mentioned that part, that it benefits Nigerians, because over time, Nigerians have been concerned with the kinds of agreement we reach. We have seen all kinds of cases as a result of certain agreements reached, and the question of, did we look through critically at the contract and the terms of agreement, how it benefits Nigeria? I want to believe that this will be a departure from what we have witnessed over time, where Nigeria has to, deal with legal cases and all of it. But how much of it is coming to Nigeria? How much of it is of benefit to Nigerians? You mentioned families. A lot of families in OreToSteel were reeling from the fact that that place wasn't working and not much attention was being paid. But salaries were paid sometime, and some other time salaries were not being paid because nothing was coming out of there. So a lot of persons even died as a result of the fact that nothing, this was what they were depending on.
Yes.
And so I can only hope that this time around we pull through this agreement. It's very important for Nigeria. We can't keep depending on oil, as we have said. We have these resources God has blessed us with, solid minerals across the 36 states of the Federation. We have these minerals. How can we tap into it and make the best of it? And that is what I believe this is what we're trying to do. We've talked about blue economy, what we intend to do with them. So as we move forward as a country, I hope that whatever agreements we're reaching at the end of the day is in the interest and for the benefit of Nigeria at the end of the day.
Well, it's a very good one. It's a very good agreement, especially with the fact that China is a big wig in the global space. And beyond just in the mining sector, there are prospects in infrastructure, the green economy, the blue economy, like you also mentioned, finance economy, and also trade. And so we're expecting that the president, like he has actually rightly said, that this meeting is successful, but we expect a more robust outcome.
With this kind of things, that we hope that this is not a way of them wanting to colonize Nigeria at the end of the day. If we are unable
but there's also that concern.
If we are unable to pay our debts and the agreements,
that's where infrastructure comes into play. If we can have a proper repayment.
But I believe that this current administration understands what Nigerians need and would want to do the best for Nigeria.